Disclaimer.
Disclaimer. Once I turned 21, then it was like my barber makes me drinks too. This is the coolest thing ever because you're not just going to get your hair cut. You're actually going to like...
It's the experience.
It's experience.
You know, honestly, most guys say no, but it's the very fact that you offered it is what takes it to the next level. I came out here at 19. I had $250, a suitcase full of clothes, a couple pairs of Jordans. I should have been back home in 4 days. San Diego time, 2 days. Most people have a plan B. My plan B is to make plan A work. If you got a plan B, you have already made a contingency for if this gets hard. It's gonna get hard.
Every time I come, it's like the haircut is secondary. And we always say it's like the cut turns out based on how the conversation goes, right?
The better the conversation, the better the cut. You don't lose until you quit. It's like playing a video game. Man, you gonna die a lot trying to beat this level. But as long as you still in the game, you still in the game. I remember my mom cut my hair in kindergarten. I don't know what she was trying to do. It went from a sugar bowl to a mohawk real fast. And so I think she was trying to blend and the line just kept going. And she was like, all right. I went to the bathroom and I looked in the mirror. I was like, I hate you, Mom.
This is The Way You Lead, a show for the new era of leaders who are ready to rise. I'm Joshua Church, and every week we explore how to lead from the inside out with strength, heart, and authenticity. Through stories, strategies, and conversations with embodied leaders, you'll gain what you need to lead yourself and others in today's changing world. The way you lead matters, and now is the time to step up.
Bro, this is awesome.
Yeah, man.
Welcome.
It's been a long time coming.
It's been a long time coming.
Yeah.
Well, I think firstly, cheers.
Cheer you.
Cheers to this. Right. Thank you for the...
kicked off the right way.
That's right. So tell me what we got here.
So actually, we call this the Templeton Roby.
Yeah.
So Templeton, right, they kind of sponsor me. They take care of me. So I was actually doing a couple videos and the owner kind of liked what I was doing, and he was like, yo, now we need to do something for Templeton. So I was already making drinks. I was like, I got something for you. We should try one of the recipes. You've had a couple. So I gave him one of the most popular ones. He went home, gave it a test run. We were going to call it Mr. Roby's Root Beer. But then, you know, the greater minds got to it, and they got back to me, and they wanted to call it the Templeton Roby. And I was like, that's why y'all make the big bucks. So you know, so that's how awesome. That was born. And actually, man, I've had a lot of people ask for it canned and stuff. So that's I'm trying to work up to that. So.
I like it. Well, I remember, I mean, even from before I was of drinking age, before I was able to actually be offered, I always, once I turned 21, it was like,
Disclaimer.
Once I turned 21, then it was like, my barber makes me drinks too. This is the coolest thing ever because you're not just going to get your hair cut. You're actually going to like...
It's the experience.
It's experience.
You know, honestly, most guys say no, but it's the very fact that you offered it is what takes it to the next level.
Yeah.
So it'll be a bragging point. Like, yeah, they serve drinks in there. They may not even partake, but just the fact that we do is like, it means big. So
it's awesome. I mean, so, okay, for context, I've been seeing you for, I mean, over a decade at this point. Since you were renting out a chair at V's Barbershop.
No, I was actually an employee.
You're an employee.
You were seeing me back in the employee days. So every step of the way when I moved out and I first stepped out to my place, you still followed me.
Absolutely.
College back still. And then, you know, you came over, followed me to the next place. And now...
Until you, and then the second story of the building, and then the bottom, and then the building.
Exactly. So got a little room, expanded inward, then took over the place next to me, and it's, you know, it's been up ever since then.
And
like,
I mean, it's just been honestly such an inspiration and blessing to be able to see you just continue step by step.
You too, man. I mean, like,
you've seen it all from my end
too. You hit the
too.
ground running, brother. Honestly, just gonna be full disclosure. This man almost gave me a complex because he hit it hard. So I'm like, Lord, what am I doing? So I mean, like mutual.
Absolutely.
Like, and I'm proud of you, man. To see where you came from, the fact that, and then we've been talking about this for years.
Yeah, you know, we have. I mean, I've always enjoyed it. Every time I come, it's like the haircut is secondary. And we always say it's like the cut turns out based on how the conversation goes, right?
The better the conversation, the better the cut.
Yeah.
So it's actually, I think everything happens in this perfect timing too. So we've been seasoned a little bit more now. So now that we,
there's a lot that I've learned from you through the years, and I'm sure we've learned together and explored through conversation. But like, tell me a little bit more too about like what were you just voted best barbershop and
honestly, since the shutdown, it's been voted, we've been kind of just ranking on top,
just constantly ranking on top,
and that started as a one-man show,
right?
Surrounded by full-on operations, so it was a big blessing in the first year you open up,
right?
So
tell me a little bit more about like the experience, because people go to Mr. Roby for the experience, right? Like, tell me about the experience that like, how do you view being a barber and running a barbershop? Like, what's your perspective on that?
So honestly, I feel like I was once told by a salesman, he said, when people come to you for a certain product, they're buying you. Like I'll give you an example. I can go anywhere to buy my iPhone.
Right.
But if I go to the Mac store and it's a real cool guy, and he's walking me through it, taking my time, personable. He may even give me the deal that's posted on the window. He's like, you know what, bro? We gonna waive the first month. I'm gonna feel special.
Yeah.
And if I have a great experience, my next phone, I'm coming to him, and everybody who I know that's looking for a phone, I'm gonna send to him. So I try to incorporate that, because I feel like you can get your hair cut anywhere. But if I can add something to that, it makes you want to come there. I'm blessed to have the only shop with a street view of the water from the 101.
Right.
From this may be foreign for some people, but if you're familiar with the San Diego area, from La Jolla all the way past Oceanside, it's more than 30 miles of just that. So when the shutdown allowed and forced me to actually incorporate the outside portion of the shop, which was just game changing. So being that I have the view of the beach, I set up outdoors.
Right.
And I'm in this little pocket that's close enough to the water to where the hottest it usually gets is like 78. And then this is San Diego, so the coldest it gets is like 62. So I can do it year round. So that was a game changer. I would have, and not to mention, I have music playing and all that.
Yeah,
so
like the good vibe music playing brings everybody in.
It creates like an ambiance where it's just like a little zen corner type of thing. I try not to have any electronics besides like the music.
Yep.
And the actual equipment, because it's a place where you can just kind of tune out. You can have a conversation. If it's another guy there, you guys are talking. If a drink is being served, you kind of have one. So it's more of like, I don't want to say intimate, but it's just more of a personal type of experience.
Yeah, definitely.
And one of my things has always been, I love to talk to people. As you know, I love to help people and stuff like that. So the more that I leaned into that, the more that my business blossomed, because now I get people, they'll come and they'll have a seat and they'll be like, you know what, man, you can do whatever with the cut. I don't even know. I just need to talk. And so, I call it like, it's like a therapy session for the mind, body, and soul. It's like, you leave looking better and feeling better. So that aspect is like great, and it adds to the whole experience. And I think that's the thing that endears it to people, that make them want to come back. It's not superficial.
Right.
And not to mention, elephant in the room, it's not a whole lot of black guys where I'm at, and definitely not outside playing soul music, cutting hair. So it's like, it's almost like it adds to the attraction. So it's a really cool thing, because I'm able to be myself, and it actually works for me. So like me and you from day one, it was never any of that, so
totally.
And it's one of the tightest relationships I've got. So
absolutely.
So I feel like I'm blessed as much as people may seem like they are to have the experience.
I love that. And one of the threads that I'm picking up on there is that the authenticity is everything. Like, you can't fake the authenticity. And what I think that what you've created is an environment and a business that's aligned with who you are authentically.
Yeah.
And then that attracts everything from there.
And that's an endless well I can pull from. If I'm acting, I can only go so deep, but if it's me, if it's really who I am and really what I'm about, it's natural, and people know the real from the fake.
You can tell.
Yeah, so people are drawn to it. Like, even if you're walking by, you see one of the main compliments I get besides the music is, every time I ride by, every time I walk by, I see somebody in the chair and they're smiling, having a good time. To me, that's one of the biggest compliments I can get, because I'm able to provide an experience that's like that can change somebody's day.
Mm.
And it's huge. You know, I think people kind of underestimate, I mean, especially for guys, how much a haircut can mean. You know, we don't get makeup and all the
What do
bells
we
and
got? We got
whistles,
three
bro.
things.
We got 3 things.
Yeah,
A
I learned
haircut,
that.
shoes, and some cologne, if you remember it.
That's right.
So that's all we got. That's our whole satchel right
That's
there.
right.
So, you know, if you can get that together, I'll get a lot of guys that come in, you know, they'll sit down. I'm like, so how you doing, brother? What we doing with it today? I don't know, man. You know, I usually go a little shorter, but you know, it's like you can see that they have. Honestly, I feel for them, because by the end of the cut, they're in the mirror like, so you think every month or so, and it's like, I feel like, man, you've gotten this far in your life and you've never
Wow.
experienced a good haircut.
Yeah.
All your dates, you may be married, like you,
Yeah.
like, you know, like it can change everything for a guy. I'll say this. This is something I always say, and I have to give it context sometimes. But a good haircut makes a guy a better dad. It makes a guy a better boyfriend or a better mate. It makes him a better friend. It makes him a better worker. Let's say if you're not really feeling good about yourself, you know, you will go through the motions and do what you have to do, but you're not looking to do extra stuff. You're just getting it done on what you have to do.
Bye.
You know, if you're looking good and you're feeling good, now you want to get out a little bit. You might even be looking up an event. You like, hey, let's go check this out. Let's go do that. You're more willing to get out and present yourself. You actually want to. And that in turn makes you more sociable. It makes you more approachable. It makes you want to do more stuff. So it really does. You know, one of the things we used to talk about, it's like when you got a big meeting or something like that coming up, the first thing guys think about, I got to get my hair cut.
Totally.
It's got nothing to do with your hair.
Yeah.
Why are you even thinking about your hair? It's because you feel better.
That's right.
You know, some of the best teams, any professional team usually have some of the best barbers in the area there cutting heads for free, even in practice.
Right.
You know, NASCAR dudes, they got a helmet on inside of a car.
Yeah.
And they drive better when they look good. And you know, when they get out on victory lane and throw it around a little bit, but it just really affects it goes deep with the guy.
Look good, feel good, play good.
That's it. That's it. And so if I can do that for guys, if I can see a dude transform in my chair, if I can see a dude sit down and he's not even comfortable enough to tell me how he wants his haircut. And by the end, he looks in the mirror and he likes what he sees. And mind you, it's no makeup, it's no nothing. But if you can make a guy look in the mirror and he likes what he sees, it's crazy, because they honestly, what usually happens is they're looking in the mirror and they start to get a little self-conscious. They're like, hey, I just need to use the bathroom.
Yeah.
I think you've done it a couple times.
Sure.
But you know, it's like,
where's that bathroom key at?
Yeah, exactly. And it's always, I know what's going on, but to me, it makes me feel good, because they want to go in there and look.
Yeah.
And just, and you, man, you know how good it feels to like how you look.
Especially for men, because it's not like, that's not part of the
It's not a thing we
right?
get a lot. This is something that I say too. I have a lot of experience with dudes just because of what I do. But, you know, men get very few compliments. We give them, but we get so few compliments. You got dudes wearing purple sweaters and curly hair from a compliment they got back in middle school. You know, so it means something. So if you can cut a guy's hair and he can go home and he can get 2 to 3, 5 compliments, oh, it's over with.
Yeah.
Think about this. You know how sometimes you put on an outfit or a pair of shoes or something that you're unsure about. You go out and somebody's like, hey, man, nice shoes. You're like, huh. If you get that once or twice, when you go home, that outfit goes in a different section of the corner. Right. It's been elevated, you know, in your mind. You're like, oh, this is a hitter right here. So, but that's why one of the things I love is if I can do that for a guy. If I can provide that when he goes home and people who really don't say anything about him, like, hey, you look good today.
Yeah.
Yeah, who cut your
nice
hair?
haircut, yeah.
And it's one of the first things they say when they came back. By the way, my wife loved it.
Yeah.
You know, something like that. That's huge.
That's
so
huge.
if you can do something that provides that, to me, the same way you can be riding and somebody can say something that can blow your day. When you can do something where they can get the opposite feeling, it makes their day. It makes their week. It makes everything. So, you know, I feel blessed to be able to do that for people.
That's amazing.
So
was that always like a desire for you, or did you discover that? Like, did you have that experience happen to you growing up? When did you decide you wanted to do this? So
I'm from like the Midwest, like the Chicago area.
Yeah.
And so haircuts mean something over there.
Yeah.
And so early on, I noticed the difference when you was fresh, you know. So, and that's just one of the things. But I realized coming out here that it wasn't such a big thing. Guys didn't really, and it's like you can't miss what you never knew.
Mm-hmm.
So
100%.
but I didn't, this is kind of like the gift that keeps on giving.
Mm.
Like the more I get into it, the more I open myself up into it. As I said earlier, the more I lean into it, the more I see what it provides. And then I'm at a place where I can see it, I can analyze it, and I can kind of like incorporate it. So I'm cognizant of it. And so now that I realize what it does, I realize that it's more than just a haircut. One of the things that the shutdown really helped me with was I realized how much the social aspect of my job meant to me. At first, I started cutting hair around 8. And so
8 years old.
I'll give you the story.
Yeah.
Okay. So my mom is a cosmetologist.
Okay.
So she's amazing with ladies.
Mm-hmm.
She kills it. To this day, she has clients that she's had longer than I've been alive, which is dope.
Yeah.
Because I got a lot of aunts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So she's amazing with ladies, but she sucks with guys. I love her. It's just not one of her strengths. So she would destroy me and my brother's hair and send us to school with some of the worst haircuts you can imagine. I mean, like, I'll give you an example. So in the Midwest, what we call a sugar bowl is like, the example I like to use is like Toad from Mario. You know how like just bald and then curly fro. Perfectly symmetrical, no blending the tip. Yeah, man. And, so you would go to school with that. And until it grew in enough to where the contrast wasn't so much, they would flame you. I mean, from a young age, one of my earliest memories is I remember my mom cut my hair. I think I was like in kindergarten. And I don't know what she was trying to do. But honestly, now that I think back, I think this was her attempt at blending. Because it went from a sugar bowl to a mohawk real fast. And so I think she was trying to blend and the line just kept going. And she was like, all right. Yeah. And so immediately I went in the bathroom and started crying because I'm like, what is this? But she got my older brother to say it looked good. And your big brother's word is this from your mouth to God's ear type of thing. And so I was like, really? And they built me up so much. I'm dancing around. I'm feeling fresh. I'm waiting for Monday. And I walk in class. And mind you, we are very young. And they still flame. Oh, yeah. They flame me so bad.
Even worse than that.
Yes. They got at me so bad that I asked the teacher to go, but she was like, go to the bathroom, sweetie. Like she knew, man. And so I never told her this. So I went to the bathroom and I looked in the mirror. I was like, I hate you, Mom. But it was because, I knew it was bad at first. If she would have let me process that, I would have knew over the weekend, it's going to be rough Monday. Mm-hmm. But the fact that I was like built up.
Yeah,
and then,
that's tough.
Yeah, it was like, I was right. No, so
who was the first person that they gave you the right cut?
Well, the way I started was... Well, I'll just say, I'll answer that question, then I'll get to that one. The way because I know I get off.
Yeah.
But the way I started was my mom would leave her equipment around. And so one day I saw her clippers laying around and I was like, I ain't got much to lose. I know what's coming on Friday. So I picked them up and I started trying to do it myself. I didn't even start with the right clippers. So I use we call them the liners, at the end when I shape up the beard and stuff. Those, you don't even touch the scalp with those because it's coming off.
Right.
I started with those.
Okay.
So didn't start off good. But you know what? This is a fun fact that I realized kind of lately. I never got made fun of again when I started cutting my own hair. And I wasn't doing good. But I think kids were kind of like, oh, you cut your own hair? It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think it was kind of like that. So it was like the respect.
There's respect to it.
Yeah. So, and I just started to love it. And I equated to like loving to snowboard but living in Nevada or Arizona. It was like I would need 3 intersections to line up perfectly to be able to do it. I would need to have the equipment at 8, which was a big if. I would need a kid my age who was okay with a kid his age cutting his hair, which was a bigger if. And the biggest one was said child's parents would need to be okay with a kid his age cutting his hair. So it didn't happen much. So every time I was able to actually cut somebody's hair, it felt like a gift. Like they were letting me cut their hair. So And it was like that for years, as I got better and better. So
even at like 8 to 10 years old, you're cutting. You're like a few
Yeah.
and far between, but you're
every time I get to do it,
Wow.
I'm like, like, and again,
that's so young. That's amazing.
And I didn't have any formal
Right.
training, so
No,
I'm
yeah.
just diving in and
Wow.
man, so again, even so, sometimes if you let me, you might not let me.
Yeah,
again,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know? So,
yeah.
but as as I got older, as I progressed, I stopped. Instead of me asking people, they started asking me, and it just
That's
and
a
it
big
went from
shift there, huh?
Yeah, and even to this day, I don't feel like I have to cut hair. I feel like I get to cut hair. So
That's beautiful.
Yes, man, I love it. It's a blessing. So
that's so good. That's
yeah,
so good.
But
so you've got years of experience.
Years.
And then all through growing up through high school, did you go get formal training, or did you just
when I came out here I did.
Okay, when you came out here you did.
But
then
but the funny thing is that every step of my life I thought I was dope.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I look back and I'm like but I believe
think
belief in myself was never at a all-time high.
Yeah.
Like I'm looking at the cuts like I remember I cut my brother's hair one time and he came back and it was real fresh. And I was like, was that the cut I gave you? He was like, nah, honestly, I was walking down the street and this dude was like, bro, who did that?
I need to fix it for you.
And I was so offended. I'm like, you didn't back me up.
Oh, that's so
but
funny.
It was just a bad cut.
Yeah.
But
have you ever done that for someone else where they like you fix a bad cut from that they've gotten?
I just did that today.
Did you really?
But one thing I try not to do is I try not to clown other barbers.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like, it's hard enough.
Yeah.
And, your shortcomings. I don't need to sit back and I'll be like, one of the things I will say, I try to find the good or the silver lining. So I'll be like, well, at least you didn't take off too much. At least it's still fixable or something like that.
Right.
So,
right.
But yeah, I get a lot of where I went to. I won't even say the name of the spots because I don't want to, I don't want to shade anything. But it'll be like, but yeah, fix it cuts.
I like
are at an all-time high.
That's real service.
Yeah,
that's real service.
And those guys are coming back forever.
Yeah,
because you catch them at a vulnerable moment. They walk in, they don't even want to take the hat off.
Yeah,
like, man, don't worry about it. Have a seat. And and by the end, they're like, oh man, thank you. So those are some of the most grateful guys.
I love it. So basically, from every stage, I think what's been cool about our relationship as well is that we've grown together through through the entrepreneurial journey as well. Like, right. Like when we both met each other, you were an employee, I was still in high school. And then throughout the, each step and each stage. And what was cool is that every time we would come back and get a cut, it would be almost the perfect amount of time to where there would be updates,
Yeah.
There would be things, a little bit of progression.
Just one step.
Right.
It was a step.
And so I think it's been cool to track that. And I have a lot of questions around your progression to get to the point where you're at right now, which is incredible. But one of the things that I think that we both kind of came onto in our own paths and brought together, which has been one of the most meaningful parts of our relationship, is how we talk about God and our spirituality and our faith. And I think that that's something that I'd love to talk about more here as well. Absolutely. Because that's been I feel such a through line for me, and I know for you as well.
It's the foundation.
The foundation.
It would be wrong for me to sit here and act like. I always say, I wish I could say that I had this all planned out. It was my expert planning and I knew. No.
Yeah.
I failed my way to success, but it's praying and having that faith and sticking with it and knowing that it's a higher power stronger than me behind me. Because sometimes, a lot of times the wind is not quite in the sails, but as long as I can stay afloat, I'll get there. So I think that's been the crux of all of our conversations.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
And this is why I'm not surprised at where we are, but it's dope to see, where it's at. So,
For sure. I love that. So yeah, what role does faith play in your life and how has that evolved for you?
It's the primary role. I came out here, to be honest, I came out here at 19. I had $250, a suitcase full of clothes, a couple pairs of Jordans, and no high school diploma. I should have been back home in 4 days. San Diego time, 2 days. And in my mind, I'm like, oh man, I have a job in 2 weeks, probably have a car next month, have a place. And it was from day one, if I didn't have that connection, I wouldn't have had nothing to lean on. I feel like sometimes people, I think the notion of that type of thing sometimes scares people, and they like, oh, this is a something I say because sometimes people think people don't know, but I do think people know the cost. Like, if you know what it takes to get all A's,
Mm-hmm.
you just don't want to pay the cost. You know what I'm
You know
saying?
what it
Like,
takes to have abs
you know,
and to be in
yeah, you
shape.
know
It's
what
just,
it takes to be really
Yep.
successful, but you know what it takes, and it's like, and so I think people kind of look at religion as stuff they would have to give up and stuff they would have to abstain from,
Mm.
and they don't look at the benefits they get from it. You know, like I I understand like suicide and stuff like that because if well those thoughts because I think about it's a blessing to know that even no matter how wrong it goes, there's something or there's an entity that cares about me that
Mm.
has power that can change this. Think about if some of life struggles hit you and you didn't have that notion. Yeah, it's going because life sucks sometimes, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes life hits you with a problem where there's no foreseeable way out right now. For the meantime, you in this situation and it's a dark place. If you don't have that notion that something out there can get you out of this and help you, that's a dark space to be in.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, anytime I would find myself in a dark place, just knowing that, in my belief that God's got me covered.
Mm.
So one of my favorite verses says that all things work for the good of those who love him. And for me, that's the story of my, that's why I say I failed my way to success. But the dope thing about that verse, it says that no matter what happens to you, at some point you can be like, man, well, I'm glad that happened. Because if that wouldn't have happened, I would have never had this happen. Like, when I left my shop in Delmar, like the shop you used to come
Mm-hmm.
to, they let me go from that shop. And that was like, I had worked my way up to a very like affluent community.
Mm-hmm.
The place was like amazing. It was dope. My identity was built on that
Mm-hmm.
place. And to lose that is a crash. And like, and it was heavy. And it was like, I thought that was it. And and honestly, I'm so grateful that happened because now I got my own, in
Mm-hmm.
the area, and honestly, I've had some of their employees come work for me,
Yeah.
So, but
And that would never have happened.
never would have happened.
Yeah.
And so that's one of my examples where all things, and I
Mm-hmm.
messed up.
Mm-hmm.
I messed up. I
Mm.
needed to get fired. To be honest, I needed to get fired straight up. And
Mm.
so, but it didn't say some things. It didn't say most things. It didn't say all things except for what you meant. It said all things, and that's the story of my life.
Mm.
I'm great at messing stuff up. I've mastered that, and so me knowing that at some point I'm gonna look back and be like, wow. Well, you know what? Well, thank God that happened because so that's peace to me. So
That's beautiful.
it's primary in my
Mm.
whole journey because I'm good at messing stuff up.
Yeah.
I do it a lot. I will jump out there for no reason. Everything was great. So but knowing that is somebody I can go to that cares about me.
Yeah.
And that will make stuff happen that I can't. It's the only like to be where I'm from and to be where I'm at. So
Yeah.
I
Tell me
remember
more about that.
I was man, I come from like it wasn't a lot around. So the place where I'm from was voted the worst city in America on David Letterman. Like literally, it was like the highest teen pregnancy rate. The for per capita with the amount of citizens with the death rate, the murder rate was the highest. It was just bad, and I was a product of it. I am from that, so I was a totally. That's all I knew, and so to come out here, I remember when I first got to the area, like to Delmar. Like one of my personal complexes is I'm like, yo, what's gonna make these dudes when these dudes are successful? They CEOs, these are very wealthy dudes. I'm a black dude in here with braids and tattoos. Like, what do I have to offer them?
Mm-hmm.
And when I open myself up to it now, I mean, it's crazy now. Like they send their kids to me.
Yeah.
Like they want me to talk to their, what I mean? They'll come to just talk. Like that barber chair. Man, marriages have started and ended, careers have shifted gears, people so much of I'm able to help so much from that chair. And it's not about all that, but I had to I had to learn that myself, and I had to get confident in myself because
Yeah.
I honestly, I didn't feel like I would look at people's stature and then I would look at what I came from.
Mm.
And this was a personal thing. I would say I'm not that.
Yeah.
I'm not worthy. So,
Mm.
it really helped me to get through that. It helped me
Yeah.
to learn that it's more to offer. Like everybody's got something to offer.
Mm.
It gave me confidence, and now like that now I'm able to just to walk in my purpose.
Yeah.
And so I don't even think like without my connection to God, I wouldn't even be thinking purpose.
Mm.
There's not a lot of purpose-minded people out here.
Yeah.
So it's everything for me, because in times where I couldn't do it for myself, it's kind of like they say, when you see two sets of footprints, he's walking with you. When you see one, he's carrying you.
Mm.
It was way more one set than two sets with me.
Mhm.
And so,
Mm.
I know I wouldn't, like, I would have been back home. I would have been a product of my environment. Like I would.
What was that split like? I mean, it feels like it's like almost like a parallel reality or universe, right? Like that, like you came out here, right, and you built what you have. But that seems like that was probably uncommon, the path that you took.
Absolutely. I was out of my family. I was like the first one of our generation to leave.
Mm.
And I got a lot of friends that lived and died in the 30-mile radius. Like honestly, I equate it to like playing a game in your room and pressing like the start or the pause button. And when you go back home, it's like pressing the start or the pause button, because they are doing the same thing, same stuff happening. And to me, it's like a scare straight moment. Every time I go home and visit and I come back, I usually go to the next level in life, because I think it's two things. I see what's waiting for me if I take my foot off the gas pedal, and it's just I'm inspired to keep moving.
Yeah.
So
how'd you get out, or why'd you get out?
Well, I got a one of my best friends. He's my brother. Like he came out here first, and he was out here for about a year, and he would just call me every day, like, "Yo, you got to come out here, man. It's like 3 million girls. It's like like they got everything, and
sunshine."
Yeah, he's like, they got like these burritos as big as your forearm, carne asada. I'm like, carne what? And so I always say this, San Diego and California gets pretty good press around the world. So you ain't really got to pull teeth to get a young man to want to come check it out. And so I came out, it was like mid-November. It was cold, wet, and gray. Winter just setting in back home. And I got here. I got off the plane. It was sunny, 70 and palm trees everywhere. And I fell in love immediately. I knew two things right away. I knew I didn't like the cold, which was like not a thought that you really could have, because it was just a fact of life.
That's what it is.
So once I saw it was a choice, I made it, and I knew I was home. It was going to take some work, but I knew immediately, like, this is it. And so, it didn't, again, I was a product of my environment when I got here. I was just talking to somebody about this yesterday. I don't even I think I would recognize my voice maybe, but I wouldn't even recognize myself.
Really? Tell me, how? Why?
Well, it's the way I carry myself, the way I talk, like the stuff I talk about. Just it was totally different. Like even now, I don't feel like I totally fit in when I go back home. Like I can try to, I can turn it on, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, it's not authentic.
Yeah.
And it's like, even with a lot of people I meet, it's just, I don't, like I've learned so much. I've come so far from where I was that it's rare that I meet somebody that I can actually vibe with and have a real conversation with and go as deep as we want to go, because at this point, I'm not worried about what nobody thinks. I'm not worried about trying to be cool. I'm not worried about how it comes off. I'm trying to help. And then, I talk about something with some substance. So, and I wasn't that. I used to call it like the invisible panel of people in your head, gauging everything. Is that cool or not? Is that, so. The
invisible panel of people in your head. I love that. Yeah, that's so true.
A lot of people live by that. I don't know. I don't want people seeing, I don't want people thinking that, who are they? Who are these people who are seeing? It's an invisible panel grading everything in your head. And so, once I was like released from that shackle, it kind of really helped me to come up. And there's a saying that says isolation is necessary for elevation. And so, honestly, I needed to be removed out of my environment. I had everything covered. I remember the first day we got here, we walking through the airport. I'm like, yo, where I ride at? He like, ride. We got to get a cab. I'm like, a cab, because like back home, I would always, you can call. You got moms, cousins, brothers. Like somebody's gonna pick. But to know that, yo, we got to take a cab. But it was like a rude awakening right away. And I thought about it. I was like, yo, the closest person I can call is like 2,000 miles away.
Right.
And that was day one. And it was just kind of like, it was a sobering moment because you're looking around, you kind of all days, and that happens. You're like, oh,
yeah,
there is no. And I was so trained on that it was one of the aspects I had never like truly considered.
Mm-hmm.
And when it happened, it was just like, bam.
Yeah.
But, I needed that because it cut the ropes, it cut the reins, it cut the anchor. They say spaceships don't come equipped. Well, Andre 3000 said this, not they. But it's like, that's one of the lines he said. He said, spaceships don't come equipped with rear view mirrors. So they go. You go.
And I feel like that was also a moment because you took that in stride and you said, I'm going to be a spaceship, right?
Yeah, like I'm here now.
Yeah, I'm here now. But you could have easily not. It could have easily, I feel like most people probably would not have.
You know what it is? Most people have a plan B. I feel like a plan B is a plan to fail. If you think life ain't going to push you to where plan B is necessary, you playing with yourself. Like my plan B is to make plan A work. Simple as that. If you got a plan B, you have already made a contingency for if this gets hard. It's going to get hard, real hard. So if you got a plan to where, all right, if you got an eject switch, you're going to hit some turbulence. You're going to pull the cord. And so if you ain't got no cord, you're going to try to keep that thing, up in the air, upright with everything you got. And you might surprise yourself. You might be a better pilot than you thought. And so that's great. That's what happened to me.
So I got another question for you with the invisible panel of people in your head. I like that. We're going to run with that for a sec. So how did you, I guess first question for you is what advice would you give someone who is living their life anchored to or shackled to that invisible panel of people in their head? How would you tell them to break through that?
One of the things that I've developed is I can actually talk to myself. And so I'll roast myself. I'm like, who are these people? Like ask yourself real questions. Like why do I care? Like pose real questions and make yourself answer it. Like who would say what? And if they would say that, let's say you not doing certain things you would do. Are the type of people who would say that's whack? Are them the type of people that care about you? If you're trying to do something to better yourself and you worrying about what people who would clown you would think about that. So you got to ask yourself real questions and have real answers. Like just look at it objectively. And it's not easy because it's kind of bred. I think it's kind of like the way our school systems are set up. We are trained to fit in. Coming up, your only currency in school is how good you look or how good you are. Everybody, even if you come from a family with money, it ain't your money. It's their money. So when you get to in those walls, your currency is either aesthetics or how good you can perform at something. And so, and we learn to like what happens when you get ostracized or if you don't fit in. It sucks. Nobody wants that. And so by the time you learn the rules of your environment, of how to fit in, you see the guys that you look up to, you see the girls you want, you see the kind of guys they want. You got all these other projections coming in your head from movies and TV and stuff like that. You see people who, now with the net and everything, you see how people get clowned over certain stuff. So you may like the same thing that dude like in the video, but you like, I'll never go through that.
Right.
No, I don't like that. And so by the time we hit 18 or 19, we've got this facade that we've built, this mask that we put on to go to the Halloween party and fit in. And so the invisible panel, they are elected and they are ingrained at that point. So it's really hard to go against that because these are rules that you set for yourself.
Right.
And so so only you can get yourself out of that. So you got to put yourself around different people.
That's good.
Open yourself up because if you stay around those same people, you're going to be tied to those same rules. What helped me out is, two things I love about California is this. You see, stuff, basically it puts wealth in your face.
Mm.
You know, instead of it being like a dream or something like that, you will see 6, 7 figure cars. You see 8, 9 figure houses. You'll see a guy hopping out your age. And to me, it makes it seem attainable. So that was one thing to where stuff went from being a dream to a goal. Like I knew I was gonna have to figure out how to get it, but it made me feel like it was possible. That's one. Secondly is being around foreigners. You know, we have so much opportunity here that we kind of get like spoiled kids. And you know, you'll see a foreigner, they come here. Like I get guys fresh off the boat, so to speak. You know, they come in, they can't even really speak English. I'm like, we get it done, but you know, and I love how somebody will come here and not even speak the language. And within 5 to 10 years, they done built something. They get here and they go for it. And so I'm like, man, I ain't got no excuse.
Yeah.
I remember this was a while back. I was cutting this guy's hair. And I think he was like 48. And he had just passed the bar and he was now a lawyer. This guy got here, and in his mid to late 30s, he was like, I always wanted to be a lawyer. I'm going to go to law school. He didn't let the age of the other kids in class stop him. He didn't let the fact that he was in his dirty 30s. And, you know, hey, this was something I should have did at 18. He didn't let any of that stop him. And by 48, he was a lawyer walking in his dream. And I never forgot that, because we'll let so much stop us. But, you know, no matter who you are or where you from, right, today in America, you can go and sign up to be a doctor.
Right.
You can get money to go to school. We will give you money for books. We will pay for housing. You even get money for food. You get grants that you can go spend a little stuff extra on. Like, you can decide to do that today and do it. And I remember I had a client from Spain, and what he was telling me is in Spain, now this was a little while ago, so stuff could have changed, but at that point he was like, there was only 250,000 slots for university there. And Spain's not a third world country. So it's some places where it's just physically not enough places to go. It's a lot of places where the class or status that you are, most places, the class or status that you're born in, it's the class or status that you die in. You know, yeah, it's going to be, even if you come from a place where, you know, like me, you know, it's going to be a little tough if you're a black dude. I mean, that's just what it's going to be. But you know what? You can still do it. It's still people that would love to get here and have it a little tough, because, you know, it's certain places where it's just not happening.
Yeah, not even possible. You don't even have the shot.
Yeah, it's just not happening. Yeah. So
that's a great perspective.
The fact that you can still do it and is still able to do it, like, you know, but just seeing that and seeing how they grind and just see how they appreciated it and seeing how they took advantage of the opportunity helped me to see it like that, because again, I didn't. I didn't see it at all. So it
also makes it real, and like also makes it there's no excuses.
No excuse, because yo, man, I mean, if you got to run a little bit longer and jump a little further, well, damn it, run a little bit further and jump. Don't keep falling in the hole. Go get you a pole and vault over that thing. Like, get to the other side. And so the fact that there's a way to get to the other side, it's still, you know, it's places where you can't. And so those two things, seeing the wealth, seeing it right here and it's right there, and it feels like I can get that. And then seeing people who come here at -10, you know, like, I couldn't imagine going to another country right now, not even speaking the language like that. That's crazy, you know, to not even speak the language and to learn the language, to get somewhere, get locked in, and not only survive, but start to thrive. And by the time you have kids, they in college, and you gotta have, like, that's the dream.
That's the dream.
The dream, like, the American's dream is to be rich. The American dream, though, is to be able to move up a status and provide and do and achieve anything you want to achieve. And so, as I said, as Americans, we kind of spoiled. Since we got all the opportunity, a lot of times we just respect the highest of the high, the most status, the most money. But people who didn't have that opportunity, yo, they cool with just, hey man, you know, I can be this and I'm gonna be this, and I can make sure my kids know it and that. So those two things changed a lot for me. And I still had a lot to work out of me,
Yeah,
because those notions were there, but I still had a whole lot of other stuff.
Yeah.
And so,
but that's a game changing
Yeah,
perspective to be able to
yeah.
come, and so empowering too, to be able to come and then to be able to carve your place out.
Yeah, and I feel like it's two different ways you could take that. When you see somebody be successful, or you see somebody doing something, you got a choice right there. You got a choice. You can look at it and you can diminish their accomplishments. Like, well, nah, they probably had blah blah blah. That's you projecting, because you comparing yourself to that. So if you downplay what they're doing, it helps you to feel better about yourself. Or you can look at it like, yo, I gotta step my game up. And I'm the I gotta step my game up type of dude. And that's always helped me, because I'm not gonna make excuses. If I see you do it, that means I can do it. And so I mean, I can learn. I can get to it. It may take me. I remember I was watching something. I was not a Kobe Bryant fan coming up, because again, I was a Bulls fan, and Scottie Pippen, when he left the Bulls, he went to play for the Portland Trail Blazers, and so I follow him, and they just couldn't make it past Kobe and Shaq.
Yeah,
and so I ain't really like him, honestly. I was never a fan of his till after he passed, and I started to see some of his interviews.
Yeah.
And it just blew my mind.
Right,
like,
that Mamba mentality.
Yeah. One of the things he said was, he was like, I don't have a problem with asking stupid, dumb questions. Because somebody asked him, like, how are you so successful with stocking all your business ventures after basketball? Like, most people, that's not normal. So
right, it doesn't translate.
Secret?
Right, what is that? Yeah.
And he just said it. He didn't try to be eloquent about it. He just said, you know what? I don't mind being a dumb person in the room. I don't mind asking stupid questions. Like, if I don't understand something, I'm going to ask, and I'm going to ask until I get it. But once I get it, I got it. And that was something that I liked, that I really liked about him, because, like, how many times have you been in class or like in a conference or something like that, and the teacher says something, you like, what was that? And you want to ask, but you don't want to look stupid.
Oh yeah.
The invisible panel of people is like, yo, don't do that.
Yep.
And so what I'll do is, I'll be like, did you say blah blah blah, or did you say this? When I do that, oh no, I said this. It's always about 10 people who are like,
yeah,
bro, I'm glad you asked.
Totally.
And so one of the things I started to learn is, I'm not the only one who didn't get it.
That's right.
And I'm willing to, so me personally, I'm willing to ask. I'm willing to humble myself, and I'm willing to go. And that's always served me well, because I can humble myself and give people credit. Hey, yo, you killing it, bro. Man, so I'm trying to work on this, but I don't know. It's like always, it's like when you got that ego, somebody comes up to try to help you. Oh, I know. They're going to be like, all right, even if I know you don't know, the fact that you shut me down and I tried to help you, I'm going to let you go.
Right.
You could have just got some invaluable knowledge to take you to the next level, but because you don't want to seem like you don't know the invisible panel of people in your head telling you he thinking that, and so now you getting defensive, and you've robbed yourself of an opportunity of some valuable knowledge that can take you to the atmosphere. And so one of the things that's helped me is, I'm okay with not knowing. I'm okay with saying I don't know. I'm okay with asking twice. Honestly, it helps with haircuts. I always say the difference between a good haircut and a great haircut is that extra question. I just went a little bit off the sides. Yeah, you ask him a couple times, and it's like you're trying to get exactly how much, and he doesn't tell you. And then you don't ask that last question, and then at the end, yeah, it's good, but it's just a little short. I'd rather be like, oh, I just want about an inch. So what's an inch to you? Show me in fingerly. Because everybody's inch is, I'll ask that extra question. And then I'll even relay it to him. I'm like, you know what? I just learned, man, that the difference between a good haircut and a great haircut is that asking the extra question. So I'll just rather ask you to be sure to make sure I get it right for you. I've never had a guy not be like, no, man, thanks. No,
that doesn't actually appreciate that. Yeah,
absolutely. So I apply that to everything.
That's really good.
And it's a great way to learn, because people will teach if you humble yourself.
Right.
But if you already know, you got it then. We've all done it. You try to help somebody, they say they don't got it. But hey, I'm not going to fight with you to help you now.
Yeah.
So go.
Yeah.
So.
and you've taught yourself a lot. You've learned a lot through, I mean, different skill sets. I mean, from learning how to just cut hair and shape up beards to actually business or running a business and investing in some of the investments that you've made. Like you've learned a ton in the past chapter, huh?
And I come to you with everything.
Yeah.
That's how you think. Yeah, but yeah, and it's because that's one of the primary factors is I'm blessed to have this like eclectic clientele that does everything. I would be a fool not to sit here and pick your brain and yo, so what do you think about this? How do you feel about Bitcoin?
Right.
What do you think about gold? If I was to do stock, like I got guys who built it and who are on C-SPAN.
Yeah.
You know what I would have to pay for a consultation to talk to those?
Right.
I got a full legal team.
Yeah, and they're like, paying you to come sit in the chair.
And they're so, by this time, the relationship is so real that when I ask them for something, they're like, no, bro, actually, here. But
totally.
If I already knew, if I had my ego and I wanted them to think that I was on top and I played myself out of that,
right?
It would be
nobody
crazy.
wants to help. You don't help those people. You can't.
And like it's already hard enough. Advice. This is something I say about advice. Advice is like life's GPS. Good advice, excuse me. Good advice is like life's GPS system. Like a GPS system, it'll tell you to turn right up here. If you don't turn right, the GPS ain't like stupid. I told you to turn right. It just starts to reroute you. And sometimes it's a couple blocks. Sometimes you can be rerouted and it's just a couple miles. Sometimes it's going to be a while. And it's just like, life is just like that. You'll get advice at a pivotal point, at a crossroad, so to speak. And if you take good advice, you turn the right way. If not, you know what? Life doesn't yell at you. It doesn't cuss you out. But you know what? Now it may take a few weeks for this reroute. Some reroutes, it may take a couple months. But some reroutes may take a couple years. So good advice, one of the best things you could take is advice, because if you got somebody who's willing to give you advice, first of all, this person is risking the friendship because it could be taken anyway. I could lose you. You can get mad. You can go off on me. So much can happen. And if I got enough love for you to where I come at you and I'm willing to risk it to tell you this, that's something. Good advice now.
Yeah, good advice.
Key.
And how do you make that discernment between who you're taking advice from? Because you could have 10 people telling you 10 different things.
Honestly, I will say this, you can be walking and a homeless dude can drop a gem on you.
Right.
So that can happen.
True.
But I look at the person. Because sometimes I feel like people can only give you advice for as far as they went.
Right.
So, if you're not in a place to where I'm like, wow, he's doing this thing.
Yeah, he's doing this thing that I want to do, or he's embodying this quality that I'm looking to do.
Like a married guy's not taking marriage advice from a single dude.
Right.
Like if you're a guy and you've done business and you're giving me advice, I'm going to listen to that. If you've walked this walk, if you've been down this trail and you're like, yo, you might want to wear your wet boots for this one. You might want to take some extra water. No, I got it, bro.
Yeah.
And then, maybe my slides may not work here. So you want to make sure the person you're getting advice from is credible, is a credible source.
Yeah.
It's, because everybody's an expert. It's like the armchair quarterback. Why is he calling that play?
Totally.
But if you've been in that position, if they've earned that right to be able to do that, and they care enough to come up and tell you something, you might want to take that because it can save you 10 years of running your head up against the wall trying to figure something out. So
that's so true. There was a phrase that I learned when we were fundraising at our last business, and we raised just a bit over $1 million. And I learned a ton through that process of like, you're pitching your business, you're asking for checks and money. Yeah, exactly. And you're running through the whole thing. And thankfully we're able to raise a good amount of money. And one of the things that we learned was, and there's a phrase that people share in fundraising is, if you ask for money, you get advice. If you ask for advice, you get money.
And I'll tell you something, like, when I was first working on opening my shop, I had a guy, and again, disclaimer, I slept in my car for 4 months to build my shop, and then couch surfed for another 7 to get it going. While doing this, I had a guy one of my clients offered me $250K just, to get it going.
Mhm.
Another guy told me whatever I needed, he'll take care of. And another guy was like, yo, I got, we can start off with 15 and we could take it from there. I didn't take any of those offers, but this is what I did take from that. These are very successful dudes, and they make good choices with their money. So
Mhm.
at times where I couldn't believe in myself, I could trust their insight. If these dudes
They're
look at
betting on
me
you.
and they believe in me enough to do this, that means that I can do this. So I'm trying to do this out of
So
nowhere.
good.
I've never done business. I'm signing a contract that I cannot afford, and I'm taking a leap of faith. And I'm walking with Bambi legs, just but the fact that they believed in me that much, that they was ready to do that, helped me to believe in myself.
That's so good.
And so, and again, I'm grateful I didn't take that. But again, that I remember. My mom's probably gonna see this. So I remember I told her about the $250K, and she was like, "So?" I'm like, "Nah, ma, I didn't take it." And she got mad at me, and she was like, "Why?" I mean, what, are you scared? That you're gonna have to answer to him? And I was just like, "Ma, I just feel like," and I just explained to her. I was like, I just feel like if he's willing to invest that kind of money in me, that means he sees way more than that in me, and so. I know I'm stepping out, but I just feel like God got me. And, but she wasn't hearing it.
No.
and I get it though. It was out of love. It was a
Mhm.
great opportunity. And, but yeah, so even when you got something in your head, this is something that I tell my people, when I'm giving advice, don't expect people, don't take it personal when people don't fully support your goal because they can't see inside your head. And so their advice may be out of love because she loves me. Absolutely. That's my mom. Like, she wants the best for me. And for her, she like, yo, this is a great opportunity. So one of the things, but what they can see is your drive. Let's say if you want to do music and you tell your mom you want to make music, automatically she gonna be like, yo.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But, and so, when they hear that, they're going to be like, I don't know. But she may not be able to see it for you, but what she can see is your drive. You building up stuff, you saving up to get equipment, you recording, you playing their songs, the growth. And from your seriousness about the situation, that's when the support comes. So,
Right.
So I don't take it personal. It's like, she just couldn't see inside my head.
Definitely.
She couldn't see the vision. So, so it's not necessarily bad when somebody tells you that, but they can only give you advice for as far as they went. So
and so you were sleeping in your car and then crashing on couches.
Bro. All right, so I'm gonna give y'all some hustle game. If you are ever sleeping in your car, get a gym membership because it's a place to charge your phone. It's a place to use the bathroom. It's a place to shower. It's a place to do the stuff that you need to do to keep going. So I'm using this way of thinking, and so I'm sleeping in my car. And I had like a 68 Mustang, which was not the most incognito car. And so I'm sleeping in my car, and there was like this girl who was a security guard, and it made it so much worse that she was a girl. And I would be like sleeping. She would just walk up to my window and be like, "Hey, you can't sleep here, man." And I'm like, "No, I wouldn't really."
Yeah, just rest my eyes, meditating.
Yeah. And it was like, it was so humiliating because like when I got the opportunity to build my shop, I had two boys that I was taking care of at that time. Well, my boys, and I had you got certain bills that there was no wiggle room with that had to be paid. Booth rent had to be paid. Bills had to be paid. The only wiggle room in my finances was my comfort. And so I moved out of my place because if nothing else, that was going to be a couple $1,000 a month that I could add, that I can use to work with. And so I remember two things. I remember I was in my car, and this was like the 7th time she knocked on my car. And I'm at a low point now because I'm like, man. And I'm like, I'm sleeping in this car, and I get to feeling bad. And and I don't get down a lot, but I'm actually down. And I remember something happened with my tire to where my tire kind of started to fray out. And so I took I was trying to find, I took it to the tire shop and I was hoping it can get fixed. And the dude was working there. He was like, no, bro, hey, I got tools at my house. If you come there, it'll be cheaper and I can take care of you. I'm like, dope. I will
Yeah.
see you when this place closes. And my tire was so bad that I'll be driving and people out their window like, your tire,
Yeah.
your tire. So I go over to the guy's house. He's like, hey, I can have my girl just drop you off for the night and you just let her know where you need to go and then you take care. And I'm like, well, that's kind of the spot.
Yeah.
So how about I come back in the morning? I didn't tell him that, but I think he kind of felt it, or maybe not, but I just wasn't leaving my car. And so I did that. And basically, long story short, my car had to get taken to get fixed. And I remember, like, I was feeling bad about sleeping in my car, and then my car got taken. But just in the nick of time, I got this rental from this place that had a great rate for monthly rates. And it was a Toyota. It was a Toyota Yaris. My brother affectionately used to call it the Yari.
The Yari, that's
yeah.
good.
And you know, like, and it was like a lemon drop. It was small. It wasn't fashionable, but I cannot tell you how grateful I was that night. I couldn't even stretch out in it. It was like literally one of the most, I was so grateful because, you know, I'm complaining about sleeping in my car and then my car almost got taken.
Right.
You know, so it was humbling. I remember.
It's got to be so humbling.
Yeah. And I was living in like Pacific Beach at the time. And so one of the things I've learned is people kind of tend to stay in the areas they're comfortable with. And this was before the car got messed up, but this was right around the same time. I'm pulling up, man, sleeping in my car like, oh my God, man, what's going on? And I remember this car pulls up next to me and I look over and it's a family. It's like a dude, his girl, and like 3 kids. And I was just like, and again, this was another moment that just humbled me. You know what I'm saying? So like, it just made me realize that, man, you complain about something, but you complain that it can always get worse. And so that kind of, that's always stayed with me. And, and you know, this was the other thing I said, 2 things. I had like this program that one of my friends had set me up with. It was called it was, well, basically, I don't even remember the name, but it was a program where if you got accepted, they would pay your first month's rent 2 times the deposit. Your first and last month's rent, and then they would pay like the deposit up to twice the rent.
As a loan, or they just pay it?
It was like a grant they had. And then rapid rehousing program. And then, you know, after a year, you would be able to keep the deposit and put it towards whatever else you was going to do. And I got accepted and it was so dope. And I remember, I thought I was good. And I must have sent out like 100 applications, but I guess like the area had been so burnt out by people who didn't like take care of places. But you just have a lot of people who don't like to accept vouchers in the area. And I just couldn't find a place. And like, to me, I thought that I was good. I'm like, all right, cool. Now I can do this. I'll be straight. I can still build my place. And I could not find a place for like 2.5 months. And I remember one day, my sons, I'm at my baby boy's house because me and his mom, we weren't on the best terms, but her mom loves me to this day. And so she's a sweetheart. I love her too. And one of the ways that like when they would have to go to work, I can come over there and watch him. I can eat, I could take a shower. It was it worked out. And so I remember I was over there with my son. It was just me and him. And I got a call. She was like, I'm like, hello? Because it was the number from the rapid rehousing program. It was my caseworker. And I'm like, I'm all joke. Hey, how you doing? And she's like, well, I'm just going to tell you, it's not good news. And I was like, oh, okay. She was like, well, I just got to tell you that funding's run out. And it probably won't be back until like October. It's like June. And what this felt like to me, it felt like being in the tunnel. And the light at the end of the tunnel was like this flickering candlelight. And you're in the middle of the tunnel. And somebody walked up to the candle and was like, and blew out the light at the end of the tunnel while you're in the tunnel. And I remember I just kind of was like, oh, well, thank you very much. Have a blessed day. All right. Okay. And I remember I hung up the phone and I was just standing in the kitchen because I felt like this was like a godsend. I moved out of my place. This will be good. It'll give me this was it. I felt
it was
like
the break you were waiting for.
Yeah, I felt like God got me.
Yeah.
This is thank you.
Right.
And so for that to be rescinded when I had really started to believe in it, it was a low point when I already had a few low points. And I sent out a couple messages to a couple people that I had never sent out before. Because I'm usually the one that people come to. And so I sent out a message. It was simple. It was like, hey, say a little prayer for me about like my mentals and all that. Just so I just stay encouraged, man. I just got some just some crazy news. So just if you don't mind, if you got a little bit of time, say a little prayer for me. And everybody just ding ding, right? And I ain't send it to a few, but the fact that I said that to them, which it's never got that bad to where because people, one of the things that keeps they say if you're depressed, if you sad, if you in a real bad space, go help some people, go volunteer somewhere. It'll bring you out. And so one of the things I've always been able to do is help people, and it kept me grateful. So I rarely get in those spaces, but this was a time where I went there, and true to form, everybody I sent the message to, I got you done. Already said it. Say less type of stuff. So salute to them. And I remember sitting in the kitchen, and I'm like, and I love my baby boy. He came in because kids don't care. It's like kids don't care if you're tired, hungover. They are moving at their own time. And I'm in there shell shocked, standing there just what am I going to do now? Because this place, I had to find I had never worked with contractors. I had never, I had to buy the tile on the floor. I had to meet with people. I'm in a wealthy area where when they hear the area code, you get the surcharge just for them knowing where they come. They're like, oh, wait, where's it at? So I am stretched thin, and this happens. And so my son walks in the kitchen like, Dad, I'm hungry. But it snapped me out of it. It was so good because as soon as he said that, I was like, oh, okay, babe, what you need? And so I made him food, and I got back to it. And this thought came to me. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to my shop. I'm not homeless. I didn't lose my place. I left my place to build this. So I'm going to go to the place I need to be. Bro, before this whole build out permit situation and all this had taken about a year. From the time that happened, afterwards, it was built in less than 4 months.
Wow.
But that fire got lit under me because I was like, there was decision time. Do I sit here? Do I sulk? I called my brother, and my oldest brother, and he's just like my mom. And I'm like, yo, hey, Ken, I know you got a lot going on, but I just need can you send me? And I don't ask for much. I'm like, can you send me anything? And again, he told me what I needed to hear. He was like, hey man, I can't really send you nothing right now. But he was like, yo, if it's going down, if it's bad like that, you can come stay with me, and I can probably get you a place at the plant. Get you a job at the plant. And I'm like, I'm building my business, but what he told me was out of love. He offered me a spot in his house.
Right.
He was going to put his name, he was going to put his reputation on the line to get me a job. So it wasn't, but it was just and that let me know that I can't call home because, because my mom, she always say the same, you can always come home. Right. And so, and they love me, and, and it's a blessing that a lot of people don't have a home to go to. So I'm not mad at that, but it was and I just told him, I was like, no, I'm not no, man, thank you, man. And it's just it just let me know that, I just had to plug in, and that I had a choice. I could sulk. And honestly, this is what I always say about success. And so I'll give you an example. I've definitely told you this one before. So this is a true story. So there was a guy back in the gold claim day, in the gold rush days. He was from Boston. When everybody was rushing for the gold and gold had been found, he came out and he had bought a plot of land. And he went out on his first time out, he found this big piece of gold. Just a crazy nugget. And so he's super excited. He goes home and he gets all his friends and family together, kind of like we do when we trying to raise some money, you know. And then he pioneered this. So he got everybody together and he like, yo, look, this is what I found. This is what I need to get the equipment I need to go back in mine. Whatever I find, we'll split. And you know, and he told him this, and everybody galvanized behind him. They gave him what he could. He got the equipment. He went back. The man went back and dug for 10 years. 10 years. He worked. And after 10 years, he never found another piece of gold. So after a decade, he sold this equipment to a guy for the plot of land, the equipment and everything for pennies on the dollar. And the dude who bought it, he came out to survey the land, and the dude had like a little flag where he actually found the gold. And so the guy steps back and looks at the land, and he's like, and one of the things he saw like this wave pattern in the land, and he realized that there was some seismic activity. And so he went back, and this is the part where I may misquote. He dug either 3 feet to the left or 3 feet to the right. I believe it was 3 feet to the left. But this is the part where, you know, so this is neither here nor there, but right or left. He dug 3 feet from where the guy had saw going with the wave pattern, and he ended up finding the largest gold claim in America to this day.
True story.
True story.
Wow.
And this is what I take from that. When you have a goal, you have to have crazy faith. Like you have to have, because there's going to be a wall. The wall is not getting the no. Your way to success is littered with no's. No's are just speed bumps that you got to kind of go over slowly and get around. The no is when you've tried everything and it's okay to quit. Like the wall is when it makes more sense to quit. When if you quit, you don't lose the respect of your peers and people. Like, imagine this dude. He's been going a decade. His family hasn't seen him. His wife probably hasn't. His kid's like 12 now. He left when he was 2. You know, everybody who gave him money, they probably like, bro, look, it's okay. Look, man, we don't. It's good. You've tried. When the closest people are telling you to quit, when it makes more sense to quit, it was insane. Because, you know, the very definition of insanity is to do the same thing and expect a different result.
Yep.
It was literally insane from that point to keep going. That's the wall. What you got to be able to do is when you reach your wall, you got to figure out if you're going to scale this wall, go under it, or C4 your way through it. But that's the wall, you know. And so, you know, with me, with that, it's like, you know, it would have made sense to stop. I got people that's depending on me. I got to get back to it. You know, now the house is taken away. I'm sleeping in my car. You know, I'm in over my head. You know, I can't even afford this contract. And even as soon as this done, my rent goes up by thousands. And this is not even my home rent. And, you know, it would have made sense to stop at that point.
It would have made more sense.
Yeah, more sense than to keep going. Like, to get that call, if I would have been like, you know what, man, I'll get back to it, but right now I just got to make sure that, you know, my life is straight. It would have been admirable, you know, but you got to have that crazy faith to where you keep pushing and keep going. And I did. And like I said, a year up to that point, 4 months after I got there. So that's the first point is you have to have that, expect the wall. And the wall is not a no. The wall is when it's okay to quit, when it makes more sense to quit. And when you quit, you don't lose face. People, you still got the respect because you grinded.
Yeah.
That's one. Secondly, this was one that came to me afterwards. This is a lesson I learned from that. Always be willing to just, you know, to look at it from a different angle and to ask for help. Because either this dude was scared to ask because he didn't want somebody to cheat him, he didn't really trust people, or I don't know what it was, but for 10 years, he never had a geologist come. He never had anybody come survey. This dude who came there, he wasn't, he wasn't a certified geologist. He just kind of noticed, his first time looking at it. So think about if this guy who toiled and worked for 10 years just would have brought somebody
Right.
in.
Asked for help or advice. Yeah.
Right.
Mm.
And his refusal to do that led to that. And so that's, so that's two big lessons to take from
story.
yeah. And so, man, those are, I take those. And also it's another story. Well, this is more of a this is a fact. So they say most businesses, it takes 5 years to get them up, running, and profitable. And so, my association to that, my analogy for it, is like Chinese bamboo. To plant Chinese bamboo, you have to plant the seed, come water it, and nurture it every day for 5 years. And for 5 years, it does not sprout. You don't see anything. So you've got to believe. And at the end of 5 years, when it does sprout, in less than 3 months, it grows 90 feet. So this is what I see. This is what I always tell people. I see a little old farmer, and he's got his bamboo shoots planted in the middle of the town. And he's walking with his little buckets on his shoulder to go water it. And every day he's walking by, and and I see like this guy on this porch, like, hey, dude, this is Mike right here. Yeah. He comes every day watering this. Hey, how's the bamboo going? And then he just, and he's going every day. And then, I see life happening to this older guy. Sometimes he gets sick, so sometimes he can't go. Something happens with the family. Sometimes, stuff happens where he hasn't been there in a week or to a month. And, now he's still going now. He's going again, but he doesn't know. Oh, man, did it die? I don't know. And so he's still watering this thing and hoping for the best. And so I think about that like with your dream or your goal. That seed, the thing about it is when that seed's in the ground, it's protected. So even if you step away for a second, the seed doesn't die. So when you come back and because in real life, when you're trying to build something, there's gonna be stuff that's you're not gonna do a 365 for 5 years.
Right.
It's not happening. But you can do it 3. You can do it 280. And so the thing about your dream or your goal is that seed is still until it sprouts, it's still protected in the ground. So even if you fall off for a few weeks, you don't do what you need to do, don't give up, because that seed's not exposed to the sun. It's not dying. So when you get back there and you start watering it again, it picks up where it left off. And so finally, when that seed sprouts, when the success part happens, the people who doubted you, the people who laughed at you, your success is going to grow so big that they're going to be able to see it from their porch. When that bamboo sprouts 90 feet, that dude who was laughing at him, he gonna see the sprout from his porch. That same porch that he was laughing at him from, he gonna see it. So that same place that people who doubted you and talked smack from, your growth is gonna be so great that they're gonna see it from there. And so that's one of the things I take. So I water your bamboo, man.
That's so
good. Keep going. Don't give up.
That's so good. And I think that's such a great lesson too that God teaches us is have faith in the seed. Yeah. When you plant the seed, like have faith, like we have faith that the seed, we know that we water the seed, and with the right soil and the right environment and the right time, the seed will germinate and the seed will blossom and grow. And like, what an amazing like analogy that is in real life, and it sustains our life.
And the dope thing about it is, what I love about that analogy is it's the same amount of time. It's like the perfect analogy for it, because that's literally what it usually takes. So like you said, water the seed, and even if something happens, it's still protected because it's in the ground. So keep going. So
that's so good. I like that as well, because it's like it's protected, and your true desires, your true dreams that are aligned, like the time doesn't pass on that. It's always there if you're willing to show back up.
So I got a million analogies, but back in the day they would call them parables. And so like I love to break things down to the most simplistic way. I don't need to use a lot of heavy syllable words to sound intelligent. I would rather you understand what I'm saying. And so one of the analogies I have for you know what, it'll come back to me in a second. But sorry.
Let it go. The seed. We'll come back. We'll water the seed. We'll come back.
You'll be saying something. I'll be like, oh. So
sometimes that's the way it works.
Yeah. It'll come when it's meant.
The other thing too that kind of relates to what we were saying, but it's like you didn't have to make the decision to sacrifice the comfort. Like you were doing fine, right? But you made the decision, I want to get to the next level. And that's what prompted you to be like, okay, cool. Like I'm going to go sleep in my car. Like I'm going to control the finances that I can control so I can invest into this. But like, you didn't have to make like,
no, but I'm going to tell you something. I don't know what it is, but for every, even up to this last goal, it's so crazy. All of my bigger goals, I end up having to like, my prayer is, Lord, for my next goal, let me not have to leave my place. But I've had to do that. Like even when I was getting my license to like for cosmetology and to cut hair and stuff, I had to leave my place. Like this is a familiar theme in my life, and for some reason, but you know, one of the things I've learned is that when I do that, I don't give myself any space for it not to work. When I do that,
it's go mode. It's serious.
Yeah. Like full send.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. You know, huevos to the wall. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So that to me, I have to do that because I have to uproot my comfort. Because if I don't do that, then I'm not going to push the way I need to push. So it helps me to, you know, I work well with my back against the wall. What I'm trying to master now is to harness that and have that same drive when my back's exactly. I don't want my back to have to be against the wall all the time. You know, like why can't I just do it, you know, when I'm comfortable. So I don't want to I want to be able to kind of do this type of thing without putting myself in a position you know, where it's all or nothing. You know, but until then. You know.
Hopefully now after this last one, I feel like the last one was a big level up for you.
Yeah. Well, I'm in the middle of like one of the biggest the biggest thing I've ever worked on in my life. And I've put myself in a similar situation. But which
is what? What's the biggest thing you're working on right now?
No,
that you want to share?
Literally I'm not supposed to talk about it, so I'll talk around it.
Talk around it,
I got approached with an opportunity to make a huge acquisition. And it's a multi-million-dollar type of thing. And it requires a lot. And so I uprooted myself because when this deal goes through, I don't want to be stuck having to maintain that and maintain this. And so once again, I've removed my comfort zone to do this. And again, I've gotten flack, so much flack, you know, from it. But again, to me, I feel like flack means that I'm doing the right thing. If you don't get any, they say if you ain't got no haters, you ain't doing something right.
That's real. Yeah.
And so, you know, it's a common theme in my life, but I did pray this time, like, Lord, from now on, help me to position myself to where I don't have to do that. But on this one, I'm standing with it. Until it shakes or until God says not now. But it won't be because I didn't do it. I've been saying this a lot lately. You don't lose until you quit. It's like playing a video game. You gonna die a lot trying to beat this level. But you don't lose until you be like, I can't beat that. As long as you still in the game, you still in the game. So I'm not a quitter, man. You know, when I set my mind to something, no matter how crazy it will be, I'm going to do it. And so I'm going to do it. And it's going to happen. And we're going to be doing this again.
Yeah, and
I'll be able to talk about it. But out of respect, I can't really get into detail.
No, I appreciate
and, you know, they say don't let your left hand know what your right hand's doing. So
I like that. Now, one of the things that I want to pick your brain about because I find
where
it.
You going.
Where do you think I'm going?
But that's, well, no, go ahead.
No, please.
Let me see. I just want to see if I was right. You go ahead and say what you was going to say.
Well, I was going to ask you about your fasting.
I knew it.
You knew it. Is that what you were about to say?
That's why I was like, but I didn't want to bring it up if you weren't. I knew it.
You knew I was going there.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's we're on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
So that's so funny. I'm literally on the same wavelength. So that's one of the things I want to pick your brain about because you've done something that I don't know anybody in my life has done, which is extended water fast.
Yeah.
for how many days?
All right. We're gonna dive in.
We're gonna dive in.
All right. So so my latest fast, which ended on February 6th, was 21 days. But that's not the longest.
Right.
My longest, I mean, believe it or not, I got nothing to prove. I did the Jesus 40. I went down from like 188 to 138. And it was one of the craziest experiences of my life. It was during the shutdown. I had only been in business for like 6 months. I built my business 6 months before the world shut down.
Yeah.
And so, but I was so blessed to where I survived the shutdown that a lot of multi-million-dollar businesses didn't survive. And I came out ranked number 1. Mm-hmm. And so I expanded twice within the shutdown and a lot happened. But that was when I did the 40-day fast. So my first fast was 14 days. Now,
that was your first fast.
That was the first fast. This was my first time ever fasting.
Yeah.
So, but to be honest, I didn't go with the intent of I'm doing 14 days. Mm-hmm. I was like, you know what? Because I was going to a church at the time where they were doing 14 days, but they were doing something called like the Daniel fast. This is where you can have like grains and like light meat and just like bread, but nothing sweet, nothing that tastes good, but just survival stuff. And I remember I was like, he had said like grains and like poultry and stuff. And I was like, I remember I went up to the pastor. I was like, yo, like, so does that mean like I can go like to the Chinese food restaurant and just get like chicken and rice? And he kind of looked at me like, brother, you could, if you feel like you need it, you can. But that was, to me, was saying no.
Yeah.
Because, because that activated me and I was like, thank you. And so, I was talking to this girl at the time. And I had did like 3 days and she was like, well, I've done the 9-day cleanse. And I was like, well, I got to beat her.
Yeah, I'm going to do 10.
That was my exact thought. I was like, if she did 9, I got to do 10. And so I actually made it to 10 days. And after I got to 10 days, I was like, I might as well just do the 14. And so I did the 14. And one of the things I learned in that fast was, and I will recommend, it's so, just look up fasting. It's so many benefits. Mm-hmm. And I learned to speak to myself. It was like times where my stomach is growling, my mind's tormenting me. And I learned to speak to I was like, I literally said this in my car. I was driving to my shop one day and I was like, brain, stop it. I'm like, yo, man, you don't even taste the food. You hear about it secondhand. The tongue tastes it. The tongue tastes it. The stomach digested it. You just hear about it. You're like through singers, so you don't even know.
That's so
like,
good.
And I was like, you know what?
Secondhand.
If you want to consume something, I'm gonna turn on the message because you consume knowledge. This is what you eat. And so I learned through that first fast that your mind is so powerful and you can literally speak to your body. And it did so much for me. It reset me. It gave me control because if you can say no to your stomach, which is something that you actually need, you can say no to a lot of stuff that you don't physically need. You know what I'm saying? So it gave me that concept and it just let me know that when it was just another indicator of how when I set my mind to doing something, I'm gonna do it. And so it did so well that from that point on, the church I was going to every year, they did an extended fast at the beginning of the year. And so whatever they were going to do, I was just doing water fast. And so the next year it was like, they did like 20 days and I did that. And I told myself like, I was like, you know what? And my nickname for it, you can call it what you want, but I call it the Jesus 40.
The Jesus 40, yeah.
And I was like, I want to do the Jesus 40 before I'm gone. And what I said was the next time that I do 20 days or more, I'm going to just do the 40 because 20 days is a long time and you don't want to waste that. So if you already did 20, you might as well finish it. And so true to form, 5 years, I think it was 2020. That was when the shutdown was going on because it happened 19 going into 20. And if I'm not mistaken. And so true to form, I was in service when he was like, this year we're doing 21 days. And I was like,
here we go.
So this is it, huh?
So here we go.
And so I did it, man. And like, but mind you, I had been doing 2 days a week throughout the year, and so I really trained myself up. You know,
Did you do 2 individual 1 days
yeah,
throughout?
So I would do like Monday and Thursday, Monday and Wednesday, something like that, and I would just roll on through. And so and it really helped me to just get used to it, to where it was just something. It was a routine type of thing.
It changes your relationship with hunger too, because most people, it's like you feel hungry and it's like, I need to eat, and we're physiologically not wired for that.
No. I've told you this. I don't even think we were made to eat every day.
No, we weren't.
You know, because just like animals in the wild, they'll catch something, they'll gorge themselves, they'll eat as much of it as they can, and then they may not. Even the best hunters in the wild are successful like 30% of the time.
Right.
Like lions that hunt with a whole pride, they it's like 3 out of 10.
Yeah.
I think wild dogs. Because I watch this kind of stuff, but the wild dogs of the African plains are the best hunters, and it's still like 50. You know what I mean? So, with the benefits and the way that our body processes it, like I remember back to my mom, and so she knows me, and I told her I was doing 40 days, and she got worried because when I said it, she knew I meant it. And she's like, I don't think. Are you sure
dangerous
you heard from God?
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't know. You should. I was like, Mom, just look it up. Just look it up and call me back. Just look it up. And mind you, she went to look this up, looking to hit me with the facts and be like, see, this is why you don't need to do it. There are so many benefits from fasting that when she hit me back, she was like, well, if you feel like you can make it,
nice,
go for it. So after 7 days, any virus in your body is converted to protein. After 10 days, they say that about 90% of people on the planet have some type of worm in them. Some type of
parasite or worm,
in them because of all the different foods we eat where we don't even know at this point. And so after 10 days, anything that's in your stomach like that is expelled because it dies from starvation. After 21 days, your palate, your taste buds are reset to that of an infant. After 3 days, your body starts to produce regenerative cells.
After how many days?
3 days.
After 3 days.
72 hours, bro. You start to produce cells that just repair everything. They say that every day our immune system spends about 80% of its time just dealing with the stuff we ingest. So I remember my son, my baby boy is 7. The other day he asked me, he was like, Dad, how does a cast heal a broken arm? I was like, nah, baby. The body heals the broken arm. The cast just is a protective coating around the arm and keeps it in place while the body does the work. These bodies that we have are beautifully made, and they will heal themselves if we put them in a state to where they can. So when you eat, when you're ingesting all this stuff, your body is spending 80% of its time just dealing with the crap we eat. So when you stop eating, it can start to handle those remedial tasks, those nagging aches and pains that you had, that underlying stuff. It can knock it out and hammer it out. So I would suggest it because, you don't know what's going on. You don't know what you got. Honestly, I started to learn more about my body because I stand up all day. I'm wearing like Jordans and stuff like that. And my feet would be sore. Like I would have like inflammation. And what I didn't realize was it was caused by stuff I ate.
You felt the difference when you were fasting?
I didn't have it at all.
Really?
Any at all. But you know what? When I started back eating, it came back. A lot of stuff that I found out about my body was when I started back eating. So I would be like, because it's a lot of stuff to this day that you deal with that you think is just your body. Because you don't your mood, your sleeping habits, your energy. It's something that we call the itis. And the itis is when you eat a big meal, you get tired. All that's happening is your body needs a certain amount of energy to digest.
Yeah,
so,
the blood is limited, so the blood has to go to your gut to digest.
It wants to shut down so that it can focus on process. So it's so much stuff that's triggered by eating that we don't realize that's going on. So when you start to step away, I remember like, indigestion, certain ways, your stomach, you might think that you, every now and then, well, you just used to burping all the time. Maybe you got gas, maybe just certain stuff like that you just think this is how you got indigestion, you got certain stuff where you don't associate it with certain stuff you eat. So as I started to introduce certain foods back and I would get those familiar things, I'd be like, oh, this comes from that. That's caused by this. And so it was just, it taught me a lot about myself. And, as I was doing the 40-day fast, I had Invisalign, and I have a great dentist, and he's amazing, but I just feel like, dentistry sucks in general.
Yeah.
For the receiving side.
Yeah.
Great dentist.
Yeah.
Great guy, changed my life. And I always say that when a man can start to worry about his teeth, he's doing well.
That's good.
Rinse covered when he can look at his teeth. And so I remember one day I was getting a deep cleaning, and this, first of all, they got like the I call it the gynecologist tools. They got your
pried open.
Oh my God. So your mouth got these metal like vice grips, and this just open, and they're sitting back, and and they ask you to do something that you're never asked to do at any other time in your life, anywhere else. They ask you to have your mouth wide open and breathe through your nose. This is not something you trained for. So you have to actually physically think this. And they're sitting back and they're talking about their weekend, and they're working on your mouth like it's a workspace. And your mouth, the most sensitive parts of your body are the parts that never get touched. Mm-hmm. And so I even told him this because he's one of my clients. I was like, you know what? Hey, by the way, you guys are amazing. Whenever you get that first, the hammer's
something's coming. What's the right?
I was like, you know what? I understand that y'all do this every day, and it just doesn't affect the timing or nothing. But I'm like, man, when I'm laying back, and you got like those, you got those gynecologist tools in my mouth, and I'm like, and I'm uncomfortable. I don't want to hear about your weekend.
Yeah,
I don't want to hear about the camping trip. I don't want to hear about and I understand that you're working. Right. But to me, I am in a very uncomfortable state, and it just feels like, focus and get this. And he laughed, he turned red, and I'm like, no, I'm only telling you this because you will never hear this from anybody else. And so that was kind of the experience. And I'm sitting back, and they're giving me, because I have very sensitive gums. Like, I don't know what it is, but my gums are sensitive. They'll numb me up, and they'll still have to numb me up more. They have to literally give me shots to numb me because the gel paste is not enough. And so, and this is the worst part because they give you, this is what I hate about, I feel like there should be a better way at this point, but they have to give you the shot first to numb you. What's the point of that? So you're going to stab me and then I don't feel it, so, but okay, I digress. But, so I'm sitting back, I know it's coming. And like it's the craziest experience, but what I've learned to do is like to talk to myself. So I'm like, relax. It's just a poke. I'm able to talk myself through this because I've learned to do it with fasting. I've actually made my stomach stop growling mid growl. Really? I promise you, I've made it.
I believe that.
Stomach, stop it.
Yeah.
Food is not for us right now. I take care of you. I got you, but food is, I mean mid growl and just stop. So once I've learned to do that, I've actually learned to stop myself from panicking. I can make stuff, I can talk myself through pain to where I'm like, this is just a sensation. It's just a feeling. It's just an impulse, right? And I was never able to do that stuff. So I'm like, your brain is so powerful. It really is. So, the father of hypnotism, back in the I think it was like 1870s, like hypnotism was like something they didn't accept as a true science. This is how the father of hypnotism got the world to accept it. He got this girl, he had a patient, and they had a penny. Pennies were like biggest quarters back then. And so the penny was just a regular penny on the counter, and he hypnotized her, and he told her that the penny was burning hot, and he put it on her arm. And when he took it off of her arm, the imprint of the penny was burned into her arm, and it was a cool penny. But the fact that her mind believed that it was hot, it processed it. It did swelled up, and her skin was imprinted. It was a brand on her skin from a penny that was not hot. And so it was written up in all scientist journals and articles, and from then on, it was accepted as a true science. And so,
That's interesting.
Your mind controls so much, but we don't realize it.
Right. It's have you Dr. Joe Dispenza at all? Have you? If
I guarantee I've seen a video of him, but if not, send me a link.
He wrote the book "You Are the Placebo" and Becoming Supernatural. And the placebo, because he talks all about like the placebo effect. If we can think ourselves sick, then we can make ourselves well.
That wavelength is working right now.
Yeah.
So have you ever watched? So I'll suggest you guys look up the TED Talk on the placebo effect. I was just about to get into this.
Yeah.
I believe we've probably had this conversation before. But so basically the premise was they wanted to do a study to see how much the placebo effect actually counted. Because medicine cures people 55% of the time. But placebos cures people 50% of the time. And, usually the margin of error is about 5%.
Yeah.
And so they wanted to see, where is it actually medicine that's doing this, or is it because the people believe it? And so the first test that they did was they had a control group come in and they had them take a milkshake. So they come in, they get the milkshake, they look, they read the back. It's 1/3 the fat, all that, and they drink it, and they all drink the milkshake. And then they test them, like they hook them up and see like the caloric intake and everything they said, and everything reflected what they read. So they had them come back 2 weeks later, and when they looked and they read the back, this one was a milkshake, triple chocolate, everything. They drank it, they enjoyed it, and everything reflect. And when they checked them, everything reflected what they read. The thing about it was the same milkshake. Their bodies literally processed it different because
based on what they believed it was. Yep.
And so they were like, all right, well, let's take this a little bit further. Let's go to working out. They've already proven right now that if you work out with a certain image in your head, you get different results. But they was like, let's see this. So again, they had two control groups. They had one trainer, I think it was like a 3-month time period, but they had one trainer give positive affirmations. So after the workout, hey man, you killed it today. Good job. I'm seeing results. You're doing your thing. I see you next week. Good job, man. Keep it up. You killing it. You a rock star. The other group would give negative affirmations. So, we'll get there. It was a little hectic today. We're still not right where we need to be, but we'll see you next week. And so at the end of that, they found that, as you can guess, the people with the positive affirmations had just really high results, and the people who had low didn't. But maybe the guys who heard that worked a little harder because of the positive affirmations. So they wanted to find a control group where people did a lot of work every day and they didn't realize it. And then they're used at the gauge. So the job that they...
Was it the housekeepers or no?
The housekeepers? Yep. I'm glad you remember. Yeah. And so what they chose was hotel cleaners. Because these ladies hump out about 200 to 300 rooms by 3:30.
Yeah.
And they start at 11.
Right.
And so they are working hard. And so they had them all come into to an auditorium. And they was like, how many of you guys feel like you don't work out enough? 60% of them raised their hand. And then they had them, then they asked this question: how many of you guys feel like you don't work out at all? 40% of them raised their hand. So what they did was they broke the group up into two. One group, they played a video, they came in and it was like, hey, look, you guys are rock stars. The Surgeon General reviewed your daily work, and you're hitting your target to be an active, fit person. Keep it up. Good job. The other group, they just simply showed nothing. They came back 3 months later, and the ladies who have seen the video had just great results from the same amount of work they were doing because they believed that it was hitting this point.
Yep.
The ladies that they didn't say anything to were either the same or worse. And so basically, this is what you take from that. This is what I tell people. When you eat, when you're hungry at night and you eat that burger and you're like, man, this is bad. I shouldn't be eating this. It's bad because you command 270 trillion cells with your mind, and you told yourself it's bad. Me, if I'm eating a burger at night, I'm like, yo, this is protein. I got a little bit of grain. Got some lettuce here. I got a little bit of dairy. Now, I'm not saying you can eat Skittles and Now and Laters all day and get the best, but if you're telling yourself and you beating yourself up over eating a half portion of something, you telling yourself is bad, your body's going to process it like that.
Right.
And you can do the same work you're doing now. And if you feel better about it, and if you give yourself some credit and build yourself up, the same effort you put in now, you can get maximum results.
Absolutely.
The fact that the way your brain perceives this dictates how much I get out of it is crazy.
Mhm.
And so I've learned to do that with my mind, where your mind controls so much. And that's one thing that fasting, to me, the main benefit is discipline. You learn what you can do. And I always say this: if I can do it, you can do it. I love food. You know, I mean, I'm a salty, crunchy, greasy dude.
And you
know?
have 40 days.
40 days, bro. And I'm not gonna lie to you. The last week of that, I felt like I was expiring.
Mm.
I don't like to say dying, but you know, my stomach has shrank so much to where I couldn't physically drink the amount of water I needed to drink to be hydrated. At night, I would have these dry gags where I wanted to throw up, but there was nothing to throw up. And then my taste buds were so pure that I couldn't drink most water. Like, I could taste the iron, I could taste the minerals.
Wow.
I had to drink this water that was almost like $9 a gallon. And it was the only water I could drink.
Which water was that?
I haven't seen it since, but it was from Whole Foods.
Okay.
But it was really good. But honestly, that's a good question. I don't remember the name of it, but even the bottle was like glacier pure.
Yeah.
But that would be a good plug right now. But I don't remember the water. That's a good question. But it was just bad because I couldn't physically drink the water I needed to drink. And actually, one of my friends, she helped me to find it. She was like, "You should try this." And I was like, "Oh, this is the only water that I don't taste." Like, I can't tell you, I can't describe to you how. You know, they say when you lose one sense, your other senses are multiplied. Yep. So you take taste, you take sight out, your hearing, your smell, your touch is amplified. You take taste out, now your smell is animalistic. I mean, like, I would have to ride with my windows up. I could smell the Irish cream butter. And mind you, I work next to a French
you're right next to the
bakery.
The
like,
bakery.
I could smell ingredients. And so it was, and fun fact, you meet people who always say, "Oh, dude, no, I'm going to try that." Dude, I went 3 days without eating. I go a day without eating. I'm like, tell yourself you fasting. Because as soon as you say that, your body's like, "Oh, really?" We'll see about that, game on. You know, so when you can go without, this is why I know it's all mental, because even with the 40-day fast, leading up to the end, man, it's, you know, you just, you know, you want to eat. But the second that you can eat again, the urgency is gone. That's how, even with the 21 days I just did, the second you can eat again, you don't want to. It's all about not being able to and telling yourself you're not going to do it. Right. And it's a challenge.
It's discipline.
Yeah. So, and you know, I gotta when I talk about it, I motivate people for it. I'm gonna give you a couple things if you guys are thinking about it. Start slow. If you're gonna do an extended fast, take a week or so and eat everything you want. Like, usually if I'm a fast, by the last night before the fast, I don't even want to see food anymore. Yeah. And like, before I go to sleep, I'm just in my house throwing stuff away because I don't even care about food. I've had so much because I've had so many people I talked about, and they're like, "Dude, I'm starting tomorrow." I'm like, you should take a week because, you know, your mind's going to bring up food that you haven't thought about in years. Your mind's going to try everything it can. And so I think you prepare yourself for it, take a little bit of time, bulk up a little bit, eat what you want, and, you know, get your fill, and then and go for it. But don't start tomorrow. Like, no.
Yeah.
You know, because in black and white you got this, but you know, day 3 or 4 it's kind of like so that's a huge thing. And remember, it's not a cleanse. You know, have a reason that you're doing it.
That's good.
Me, I tell certain people, because something I learned about myself is, even if sometimes I can't do it for myself, but I do it for those who watching me. Like, I feel like people have enough reasons to give up. And if I give up, they're like, man, if Frank couldn't do it, I'm cool. So I'll tell certain people because it holds me accountable. And so and again, I'm not wasting a couple days, even if it's just 3 days, that's 3 days, that's 72 hours, man. So I don't, I don't like, if I don't do it lightly. So if I'm in it, I'm in it. So no wasted days, prepare yourself for it. And
you work the whole time through it all too.
The whole time I'm doing I'm
on your feet.
And with the first fast, I was doing 100 push-ups a day. At this point, I'm doing 275 a day.
Wow.
And 100, like 2 something with the sit-up workouts. And I did those every day. You dictate your energy. You can, man, your body is so resilient. The best thing I know from that fast is if it hit the fan today, I can go 40 days. If I had to go to the mountains right now, I know I got 40 days in me that I can make. So, that's dope to know.
That is. There's a resilience, that self-independence that brings.
Yeah. And, that when you can lock in and do that, a slow day, something coming up against you it's nothing, man. When you can lock in and do something like that, you've proven to yourself. And it's one thing I can say with all confidence. If I decide I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. Simple as that. And that's dope to know.
That's it.
And again, it ain't me, it's God. Because believe me, I'm praying. I'm praying.
Well, what does the word of God say? Who is strong? He who controls his urges, his temptations, right?
Exactly.
And the most primal urge you have is to eat.
Yeah, one of them. Because we do. So, but again, am I strong if I give in to anything that I want? No, I'm weak. So if I can say, this is what I'm saying. If I can walk up to you and I can words you into a action, if I can walk up to you and be like, words, and I can get the reaction I wanted out of you, I control you. I don't care what I said to you. I don't care how bad it was. If I can, misery loves company. So if I can walk up to you and see you smiling, and I can walk up and say something to you, and you get out your body, I control you. So, you should be able to control yourself. You should be able to sit back and be like, no. And, you can just do that with everything. If you can't sit back, if you can't lock yourself into something like that, you're going to have a hard time in this life. So it gives you that confidence in yourself that you can do something.
Yep, you got the discipline.
Yeah.
So that's why you rip one every year. You don't do the full 40. The Jesus 40 was a...
I'm telling you, he's going to have to come to me in a dream to get me there. I've accomplished that.
But 21 feels like a good...
So this year, I didn't want to do 21. It was like that number was given to me. I tried to play with it.
That's right. I remember you telling me about that.
I was like, I tried to, maybe I'll do 14, 21. Maybe what if I do 7, then I do another 21. But, and I will not lie, this 21 here, this year, because last year I wasn't as faithful, I found excuses, and it was a hard 21. It was hard fought, and but I needed it. It reset me. It reset my taste buds. It reset my full point. It's 2 things I found about staying fit that I realized over this last ones, because I've always been the one that's been a little bit bigger in my group. And I got boys that eat more than me. And I'll be like, how is this? But one of the things it's 2 things they do. They stop when they're full and they don't eat when they're hungry. Well, that's 3, but so they stop when they're full and they don't eat when they're not hungry. And so me, I would have something in front of me. I would get to the point where I'm satisfied, but hey, I'm not a quitter now. And there's still something left on this plate. And then you make excuses in your head. Well, it's not necessarily enough to warm up. It's not going to taste the same. And you finish eating that when you were good. And not everything you ate after that, you didn't need. And that's one demarker. And then, you're not even hungry and you see something that looks good and you eat it. And then you eat a full portion of that. So one of the things I've learned this time around which is dope, is to stop. I'll stop. I'll have some water. I'll chill for 20 minutes. If I'm still hungry after that, then I'm actually hungry. But most of the time, what you find is you're not. And then, if I'm not hungry, I'm not going to eat it. 'Cause it'll be there. It's all right. But those 2 things for me are revolutionary, because some people have them inherently. some people have dampened that voice to a whisper. So I was one of those guys. And so this one was big though. I needed it. And I got confirmation on it because one of my clients came in, and I love this guy. His name is Roland. He's an older guy. He's like a brother in faith and almost like a dad figure. And he's a super cool dude. And I actually talked to him. I don't really talk to a lot of people about my fast because if you like they say, if you know, you know, and if not, you're not gonna understand it. And I'm gonna sound crazy to you. So I'm not. Hey man, if you there, we could talk about it. If not, it's all good. And so he was like, Brother Frank, I told my pastor about you, and we talk about you all the time. And he was like, so he asked me how'd you do on this one, and I told him you did well. He was like, he got up in front of their church, and I'll make this one quick. And he told them he wanted them to do a 21-day fast this year. And I'm like, was he like talking like the Daniel fast or something like that? And he's like, no. And I was like, whoa. Like, cause honestly, he has an older, it's probably a lot of people there. It's an older demographic, and the pastor doesn't say that lightly. He knows that y'all are looking at him like, what? And when I tell you that, that means I've got to do it. And so he doesn't say that lightly. So to me, it was confirmation because that number was so strange.
Yeah,
to me.
they kept coming up.
And this is for y'all, man. I just feel like, and I told you this, I feel like something's coming this year. And like God is trying to fortify us. And I don't know, mark my words or the date, but I feel like something is coming because to me, that when he said that 21 days, I was like, yo, that's crazy because I couldn't come off. I didn't want to do the 21, but I couldn't move that. I couldn't move it. That was like, that was in my heart to do. And then my mom even hit me up and was like, yeah, my pastor said he wants us to do 20 days. I'm like, yo, if your pastor said it, because, but so I just feel like whatever you move to do it because, you know, God is trying to fortify you for something. I don't know what's coming.
Yeah, that's a good call.
It may not even be nothing bad, but maybe he's trying to take you to another level. Maybe he trying, you know, I'm not a huge drinker, but I was a smoker. I haven't smoked in over it's been like probably a month and a half, 2 months.
Wow.
I don't have the taste for it.
Amazing.
And you know, it was good. You know, it took a lot of stuff out of me that I wasn't happy with anyway. It cut a whole lot of butter off me, you know what I mean? It reset me and it just got me back to where I need to be. So I would highly recommend it, but do what's good for you. Don't, you know, again, I'm crazy. So don't try to, you know, like it's not about competing with me or anybody else. It's about your personal walk. But
Like that.
I will say fasting is very good for you.
Powerful tool.
Powerful. And it's a way to get his attention. You know, it says that when you fasting, God, you're not even in the care of angels. He got his very hand on you. And it's a way for you, like I said, for you to get his attention. Dedicate some stuff to it. If you're trying to build something, you're trying to build a business, something, do that. If you got somebody in your family that's sick, if you dealing with something, try something different. What's insanity? To do the same thing, expect a different result. So if you got something that you're trying to reach for, sacrifice and see what happens. And it honestly, it'll change your life. And one of the physical benefits is you're gonna lose a lot of weight. And to me, that's motivating too, because you know, you looking up, you looking better and better. That's a driving force. So you got to find the strength where you can. Yeah. You know, so I use all those as motivating tools for myself. So good. But yeah, I knew you was gonna bring it up.
Yeah, you know I was gonna bring it up. Yeah, right when I said it too. Well, Mr. Roby, this has been great, man. Do you believe that we've already been jamming for 2 hours?
Wow. You know what? Next time I want to interview you.
I love it. Well, we got many more to come.
Yeah,
We got many more to come. I was
exactly.
gonna say I got so many questions too. Then we've got so many topics. I feel like just scratching to the surface.
Bear man, we went deeper than this on haircuts.
Yeah, exactly. But this was amazing to get the mic rolling, get the tape rolling.
Yeah,
been a long time coming. It's a pleasure. And anything you want to share to the listeners as we wrap up here? Any words of wisdom to share with them?
You know what, man? I will say this. You know, whatever you do, don't take the safe route. Work in your passion. Find your passion. You know, Americans have done something that no other culture have. More Americans die Monday morning from 8 to 10 o'clock than at any other time of day. And that's from people who don't like their jobs, They don't get fulfillment from their jobs. They got this angst in their chest about going back to work, whether you're making a lot of money or not. And then one day they pull up and their heart gives out. And the crazy thing about that is whenever I'm talking to a foreigner about it, they're like, what? But you know, when you're talking, I can talk to a 14-year-old about it. He's like, I can see that.
Yeah.
You don't have to explain it. So, you know, when you don't like your job, you just there to get paid for your paycheck. You already mentally out of it at 4:30. But when you love your job and you working in your passion, it makes it easier for you to do that extra work that it takes to excel in that. You know, like with me, let's say I come to work, I'm tired, I had a long night, stuff is going on. You know, by the time I get into a haircut and I get to going and we talking, I find my second wind and I'm feeling good. If you don't love your job, that second wind never comes. You just want to go a little bit more. So if you want to take it to the next level, succeed and be at a high level, if you don't love what you're doing, it's not impossible, but it is going to be a task to do that extra stuff. But if you love it, you're thinking about it in your spare time. You're more communicative with the boss. If they need some extra time, you will stay longer. You do all that stuff that's necessary to excel. Think about if you had a business. Who would you want? Who would you promote? Would you promote that guy who's out at 4:45 or that person who's asking you questions? Some people think you kissing, but no, man, it's like you love this thing. So find your purpose. Remember that when family gives you advice, it's out of love. They're going to tell you to go for the safe job.
Yeah.
They're going to tell you to go for that thing that they know that'll pay, but that safe job leaves you with that heart attack at 8:45. You know, work in your passion and you will get fulfilled and you'll find it easier to do that extra stuff that it takes to take it to the next level. So find what you love. This is what I say, and I'll leave it at this. Because a lot of people like, how do I do that? Get a piece of paper and write down at the top of the piece of paper, write down 3 things that you love to do so much that you would do it for free. It could be swiping to the left. It could be gaming. It could be, you know, anything like that. So you start at the top and you write 3 things and then you draw 3 lines down from each one with 3 smaller lines coming from like that. And you just think about, and you find 3 careers under that pertains to that subject. And now you got 9 options based in your passions, and weigh the options. Which one? Look at what it would take to pursue this. Look at what it would take to do that.
That's such a good exercise.
Yes. And
did you learn that from somewhere, or is that something you just kind of picked?
So honestly, I was in 5th grade and my teacher was teaching us how to write a paper. And so what you would do is you write it was we had to have 3 topics. And so basically we had to put the 3 topics at the lines and then 3 points from each topic.
Right.
And then you made the paper around it.
Yeah.
So
that framework.
So she gave me the framework and then I just kind of
That's
used
so
that
good. I love that.
And it's simple and be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Like I said, nothing stupid.
Right.
You know, everything that you see started from an idea.
Right.
Every store you see, any no matter how big it is, that was somebody's idea. You know, so do that. You got 9 options based on your passion and weigh the options from there. And you take a chance on yourself. And say a little prayer when you're going to take that chance, because why not? But that I'll leave you with that. We'll see you next time.
I love it. We'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Frank, it's a pleasure, brother. Thank you, man.
My man. And thank
Cheers,
you for
dude.
having me, man.
Until next time.
All right.